All right, in what ought to be the final review of this sidewalk situation, you indicated in your email that uh, you liked G, H, and I. Everything on this end, you like G, H, and I, and suggested perhaps something like G, H, and I with an approach like K, which really that's what this is. This end is the same as G, H, and I with an approach at K. Uh, but in any case, I had begun to work on a few things before that, and we'll just go over those briefly. By the way that I would locate the approach, because that's what you mentioned in your email, is how that would be arranged. And the way that I, called it out is from the light post here. However far this light post is from the margin of this driveway here, is where you should call out the margin of this. So this is just a 45 from there to there. That's how I would do it. I mean, I think that's just a decent way to do it, and maintains an even margin from this light post. I like that your pathway will be closer to the light post, frankly. But going forward, I had already worked on things beyond this prior to your email, and I'm going to go over those briefly. This one you probably saw, and you didn't mention that it was anything that you wanted, which was just like K, except it extended that sidewalk entrance all the way over to the garage. But to review what I've done, and then to cover additional ground of where I went forward after your email. I had started, knowing that this has to approach here at much less of an acute angle than it does in whatever permutation this was here. So that needed to be reduced in its sharpness here to something like this. And at the very end of this, by the way, I'll run through all of these one more time slowly in kind of a close-up view like this, just of this end, for you to hopefully not get too confused. This was one of the first things I did, was try to, because I wanted to keep some land beyond this garage here, the edge of the garage. So this was just a first thing that I had done, is try to get that where it's a little more of a straight in angle rather than this sharp acute angle here. And this is the result of that. I called it O2, and these ones I'll show you the overviews. As we go forward, I'll be skipping that part because I just don't think it's critical. So that's O2, and I think I did a little bit of work here, talking about this wall, which continues to concern me, how it's, a little obtuse right here. Whether or not you have your contractor or whomever make some sort of adjustment with that, I don't know what I've done there, but I don't think it's doable in the real world. But something like that is. All right, so that's, and probably did one or two. Yeah, I did one or two other things with swinging an arc around here that you may or may not like. This one's O3. Uh, and finally, this is O4, which is really, it's almost just it's really, you can see O3 is a little bit more of an arc. And then O4. Any of those I think are acceptable if you wanted the concrete running all the way up to there, or the new sidewalk running all the way up to the garage. But after I got your email, I went back to K, which is where you suggested we start, and I'm just feeling my way through these photos because I don't have a script here. But this was K, and if you wanted to do so, I wanted to have a little bit more area in here. I didn't like how close this came, regardless if it's here or whatever. It's just I'd like you to have a little bit more planting area right in here. That's just my feeling. At the same time, I don't think this should be some little tiny thing coming off of here. This was the first thing I had done, which then was to, pull this off here a little bit, pull this down a little bit, and use a smaller radius. I didn't like this at all. Frankly, I don't like, this is one radius that goes from here directly to here. This is where it becomes 0. And this is, I don't particularly care for this. So I did a few other things where I wanted to extend this as more of a straight line first before it began its curve. And that's what these little final 3 things, Q, are going to be. and I started by, these radii, and what it's going to be is, either this comes down a little bit straight and then curves around, or it comes down the same distance straight as this side and curves around, or it comes even further still and curves around. And I don't know, I must have chosen the one that's the same length as this for the first look. We'll call that Q1, and certainly I think that's better than a P, personally. And then the next thing I did was to pull that even longer still, which is Q2. There's Q1, Q2. Either I don't have a problem with any of these, really. Finally, make it a little bit straight rather than where in P it went straight on. So this makes it just, a foot that's straight here before it begins its radius. And you can see how much, of that's taking it off there. And that's the final result of Q3. Now I will make a second thing and just run through these just with the diagram, all in the same size, so that you can have a review that's perhaps not so confusing. This is Q3 and this is K. You can see how it adds land to this area here, which personally I think is probably a good thing. It just seems a bit crowded here. Okay, now I'll give you a quick run through from the start, K through the various options to arrive at this final option, Q3. All right, we've begun at K and then added this little swing here for O2. O3 trims off the little bit at the end, comes around in a straight radius. All O4 does is pull that to an even smaller radius. Then P, which is really close to K. There's K. There's P. And then after that, go to Q1, Q2, and Q3. Let me know what I should put together for the final drawing. And if you need any more feedback, let me know that too.